Suicide people have schemas or beliefs about themselves that the world would be better off without them, or that they do not deserve to live. Their thought processes are blurred up like a foggy camera or glasses. They use polarized thinking or all or nothing thinking that suicide is the only thing that can save them or bring them peace. This makes a patient run in circles. If they are strong enough to complete a certain task or let go of past traumas, then how are they going to be strong enough to get through life? That is a common belief suicidal individuals have, to the point where taking their lives seem to be the only option. Some other common concerns they might have sound like, I have been struggling with depression for a whole year. It feels like I will never be cured. This is the only way to stop it. They feel depressed because of their mental filter that disqualifies any positive situation that they encounter. Like if someone tries to help them, then they will think of all people who ignored them or did not encourage them in the past. They use minimization to disregard any love or support because their friends are only friends because they feel pity for the individual. An individual who is contemplating suicide has a confirmation bias over their schema. They are powerless about the suicidal ideations they have. But let us get to the bottom of this. Even if they display a good action, their schema will still be that they are so worthless. So they deny even the good actions they do. For example, not self-harming for one day or having a productive morning. They confirm their own negative biases because it was not good enough or perfect to their liking. These irrational beliefs are what make a person put suicide on a pedestal. From an individual's perspective, it may not be extreme to say, I feel suicidal when a specific event occurs or a series of events takes place. However, from a cognitive theory perspective, it is much deeper and meaningful than just that. Through rational emotive therapy, we need to successfully show the patient that the belief of being powerless to suicide is no joke. Very irrational. Why do patients feel like there is no hope? People feel the need to attempt suicide when they are in severe depressive states or episodes, but something has to get them there in the first place. We can analyze this after just a few conversations with the patient using the ABC model first hypothesized by Albert Ellis. There has to be an A event that takes place that puts these unhealthy habits into catalyzing action. This could be anything from patterns of abuse to losing a job or even ending a relationship. In this case, suicidal thoughts, it is the schemas of their worth and control. Now part B takes place, and this is the thing we need to alter once we discover it. This is how a person looks inward based on the external things that happen to them. They are maladaptive beliefs in a person's contemplating suicide, and they subconsciously think that because of the A event, they are imperfect, unworthy, and downright hopeless for any change. They believe these beliefs are true. These beliefs cause C, the resulting emotional consequence, and in this case, a person longing to take their own life.
Today we'll be talking about people who are suicidal. I want to resonate with those who have lost someone to suicide or just suicidal people in general. I hope this will give us a look into their brain and give us a reason why. In this session, we'll be talking about the psychoanalytic theory. This is where the three divides into a person's psyche. Freud's 3 levels of awareness can be seen as an iceberg. The bottom of the iceberg is the id, or the unconscious mind we're not aware of. The second level is the superego and your ego. This is the preconscious mind, and this is where memory is stored. The top level is the conscious mind. This is our short-term memory. We are aware of this. An id is an original perception at birth. Their id is to be in the same-sex relationship. A superego is someone conscious and idolizing behaviors. These are what we see as socially acceptable. Our client's superego is that they want to be accepted by their religious community. The sexual conflict makes them push down the urges and they end up hating themselves. The sexual conflict issue is a prevalent motive for their suicide because it makes a person question their own identity. Simple projection, a defense mechanism, attributes these thoughts and feelings to our clients. Our closet patient fears coming out to their religious parents and will accuse others of being gay. In reality, it is their own thoughts and feelings. They also develop a reaction formation towards their homosexuality. And instead of being supportive, they also do the opposite of how they are feeling. These can lead to their own sexual conflict. Our patient repressed id causes them to fall into depression. Depression can lead them to truly believe they are better off dead. They don't want to live life with those urges anymore, and their superego tells them that being homosexual is not socially acceptable. They have a break in reality, a delusional projection. These are irrational beliefs. With delusional projection, their irrational beliefs is that they would be better off dead than accept that they are part of the LGBTQ plus community. Our client is repressing their urges because of the homophobic parents, and this will lead to their suicide.
Psychoanalytic therapy involves analyzing and overcoming the beliefs. Psychoanalysis developed by Sigmund Freud involves the therapist to help the patient gain insight into their unconscious mind and the source of this problem. Our patient has a moral conflict that being homosexual is wrong, but their unconscious mind has a desire for the same-sex relationship. This causes them to believe that they would be better off dead than come to terms with their sexuality. To start, we would analyze the transference. The transference is how the patient acts towards important figures in their life, pointing out the connection. In this case, we would analyze how the patient acts towards their homophobic parents. Is this fear? Is this remorse? More than likely, there will be. I will point out the patterns and how they feel and their unconscious needs. Their feelings of hate about themselves comes from their parents. Once we made the connection of their self-hate to the parents, I will use affiliation. This is where the patient consciously accepts their feelings and seeks out the help they need to deal with their feelings. With affiliation, I want our patient to accept their homosexual feelings and seek out a LGBTQ plus support group. This group will help them erase the years of homophobia from their parents and learn to accept their homosexuality. In this LGBTQ plus group, our patient will also experience self-assertion. This is where the patient deals with the inner conflict and shares their feelings. In the support group, they can openly express their feelings with people that understand. Here, they can own their feelings and can improve. By the end of our sessions, the patient's inner conflict will nearly be resolved. The psychoanalytic further analyzes words used in the previous session. Our patients will come to terms with their sexuality and realize their self-hatred comes from their parents. By talking to the support group, they will know their emotions and feelings are valid and they do not have to make the permanent solution of suicide.
Suicide is in the top 10 causes of death in today's time, holding the lives of around 50,000 people. The topic of suicide is going to be brought to you today through a humanistic point of view. In today's society, finding someone comfortable with being an outcast is rare to find. People now live their life based off their wants and not their needs. Everyone wants to drive the new car. Everyone wants to have the new clothes, new shoes. Wanting everything that they can afford, wanting everything that they think is popular. Doing nothing but causing them to betray false self. Because it's not who they really are, but it's who they want to be. Yes, people drive fancy cars and other people think it's cool, but not everyone can afford those. Even people who already have basic need things still get an earful. Maybe their car isn't the newest, or their shoes aren't the newest, or their pants may have a few rips. They have the things they need, but it's not good enough for others. People hinder themselves in today's society because they don't know their conditions of wealth. Yet people forget their worth every day. Growing up to be told and feel as a gentleman, you was told to hold the door for everyone, say yes ma'am, no ma'am to everyone you see, all because people with a little older and a little more money said so. Not knowing everyday life is priceless, wanting the acceptance and approvals of others is not good. These actions have and still do lead to countless deaths of suicide due to bullying. People do all these negative things to amuse themselves, putting others down just to make a joke, or impress others.
A humanistic therapy technique you should consider using is called removing specific obstacles to growth. With this, you're going to remove any and all negative aspects from your life. The easiest way to pick out what things in your life that are negative are to see what things are preventing you from being your true self. In order to do this, you first need to have conditions of worth. Conditions of worth are limits we set for ourselves in which we want to be accepted and liked by others. But what you need to realize is that you're perfect the way you are, and if others don't accept you for any reason, then you need to cut them out your life. For example, just about everyone has social media, and let's say you are a LGBTQ plus member and you see something on your Instagram feed that's homophobic. You should do one of two things. One option you can do is block the profile, or if you see multiple homophobic things, you can delete your social media account altogether. Another example is if you have family in your life that is stressing you out, then you need to remove them from your life. I know it can be hard because family is supposed to be your number one support system, and other members of your family might judge you for it, but you need to do what's best for your mental health. Also, to help you starting off, you should go and see a therapist. Without the therapist adding in their input, they will follow your thought processes when you're speaking about different people and relationships in your life. The therapist might have their own biases or might even want to question you. For example, they might ask you why you're cutting out these certain people from your life. However, the therapist cannot make that apparent. Having empathy and putting themselves in your shoes is extremely important. All the therapist will do is sit down with you and listen to what you have to say and help you differentiate what are negative aspects in your life. They will also help you figure out what steps you need to take to help you get rid of these specific negative things in your life.
From a transpersonal perspective, people who are suicidal have failed to establish a relationship with the cosmic person or God. Separation from the spiritual causes suffering and problems. There is a lustful relationship between the patient and suicide, for life to be full when it appears otherwise. To them, it seems as though they can be rested from the hardships that this world brings. A suicide person could say, "Why should I live when death is so much more peaceful?" This longing for death comes from the failure of realizing that life is a multi-layered realm that does not end with death. Having a connection with a higher being assumes that there is a non-physical realm that drives our purpose for life. Not finding oneself of identity or learning about yourself can be troubling to someone who is not spiritual. Patients are lacking mindfulness when they pay attention to the calmer state and are aware of how they are feeling. They are still in what is called stage 1, where the divine being is asleep and the ego is on the center stage. They hide all the parts that do not fit in the ego, where the psychic energy should face inward. A suicidal person who negates the importance of being unified with the spiritual whole will cause them to question themselves, and death seems better than the suffering here. They believe it will provide much more solace than despair in life. When a suicidal person needs our rituals, but they are unfortunately looking for other ways to escape their suffering pain. They have this view of the afterlife that will be at peace or sleeping, when in reality, if they had a relationship with a higher being, they would realize there is a much larger consensus at hand in regards to the afterlife. A transpersonal therapy would include helping the individual to develop a productive spiritual practice, like prayer, and connecting the person to a larger story or myth. Increasing spiritual well-being, like finding an authentic spiritual community nature will provide an essential connection to people, nature, and a relationship with the divine. Encourage the client to take a camping trip, canoeing, or kayaking trip. It is better if the recreation is calming. However, the patient can also have the interest to do more daring things like whitewater rafting or skiing. This encouragement and joining an outdoor club could help them connect with nature and the beauty of the world. These connections will show the patient out of alienation and isolation. Connecting the patient to support groups with suicidal thoughts can also be beneficial in bringing them closer to people who not necessarily are like them, but understand what they have been through. Loneliness is the lack of community with the divine. The client needs to believe in the existential worthiness of living and change the client's desires of tranquility into reality. Most patients struggle with wanting to live or die. Try to focus on the reasons they want to or should live and the positive aspects of life. Treating the patient should raise interesting questions as to what a perfect world might look like for the patient, or what living without suicidal ideation shackles around them would look like. The therapist will ask the client to pray every night before bed and ask the spiritual being to show them the light and the good in life through their dreams. In the morning when they wake up, they should record their dreams using a dream journal.